Okay, so now that we're talking all about these challenges, etc., what do you feel that you have come across actually in terms of the top three challenges for businesses? Could be the TA leaders, could be HR communities, could be hiring teams, but what are the top three challenges they're facing at the moment when it comes to this total talent augmentation and consolidation?
I think, honestly, challenge number one that I come across most often is, where do you start? That's the biggest issue with companies. So many companies that I've worked with really struggle to even understand what is the breadth and scope of their contingent worker population, right down to those definitions of contingent worker types. So who is a contingent worker? A good example of that would be, there are companies like IBM, Accenture. There's a whole list of about 50 more companies who integrate themselves in a really intelligent way into organizations, and by accident, if not by design, end up delivering really blended services to organizations. So when is a contingent worker versus not a contingent worker? If I have 100 people for IBM, I'm not picking on them, but if I have 100 people from IBM sitting in my solution architecture team, which ones of those are under a managed service, and how do I know that's a managed service as opposed to a day rate contractor? Is it a statement of work? And if it is a statement of work, is it actually outcome based? Is it not? When you start unpicking that, it feels really complicated. And when you start having those conversations with senior business leaders about the size of their contingent workforce, people can get quite defensive about it for different reasons. Which leads me on to my second, which is the political drivers that sit around people's use of contingent workforce. Let's be honest, most companies up until this point are not utilising contingent workers because they're incredibly enlightened about the future models of work. Hopefully it will be that way in the future, but it's not there today. They're using contingent workers in some cases because their organisation has got a clamp down on headcount, and you've still got to staff your project. So I've got £100 million to spend. I've got to deliver this project, but you're restricting me on how many heads I'm allowed to have. And you count anybody that's on our permanent head count as a head, or even in some cases, you count a day rate contractor through our MSP as a head. But if I procure those same people and I put them under a statement of work, or I call it a managed service, it doesn't count. And I don't want somebody to put my ability to deliver on my objectives at risk. So if a pesky procurement or resourcing person starts sniffing around my resources and trying to tell people they're contingent workers, I'm probably going to need a mindfulness course or two to get over that, because I'm going to feel a little bit stressed about how I'm going to be able to deliver my future services if I end up being under those constraints. I think that's the unintended impact of how businesses set targets or what they focus on. So that can cause a real roadblock for in-house leaders in whatever function they're sitting in trying to bring the organisation to a table to discuss a true contingent workforce programme. And then I think the third one, honestly, last but not least, is just, it feels complicated. And there are not that many people who sadly have got the expertise to come in and help an organisation from scratch set up a contingent workforce program, and it's highly unlikely that most organizations by accident already have those people in their company. So that's quite a difficult place to be, and I think vendors, to their credit, can make it sound even more complicated when they describe. So when you do an exploration exercise to go out and scope the market and start formulating some ideas, when you start hearing how vendors describe the solutions that they would put in, I think that in itself can send people running for the hills.
Absolutely. I think some of the things that I'm hearing as well is how many niche products are out there that it's actually driving in-house teams insane with how many more systems or how many more solutions. And that is why we're quite sort of happy in sort of driving this ecosystem model.